Breaking news today, Israel-Hamas War News Live Update. UK advises Iran to use influence to prevent Israel-Hamas conflict escalation. Encouraging Iran to help prevent escalation in Israel-Hamas conflict, emphasizing the importance of Tehran's influence. The UK Foreign Secretary, James Cleverly, recently had a phone call with his Iranian counterpart. The purpose of the call was to stress the need for preventing escalation in the Gaza conflict by working with other groups in the Middle East. The readouts provided by both sides do not clarify whether Cleverly outlined any potential repercussions for Iran in the event that it was found to be actively fueling a larger conflict, or if he presented any intelligence to demonstrate the extent of Iran's involvement. In response to Cleverly's message, the Iranian Foreign Minister, Hossein Amir-Abdollahian, reiterated Iran's stance that it does not have control over militant groups in the Palestinian territories, Lebanon, Iraq, Syria, or Yemen, which are commonly referred to as the axis of resistance. In a more detailed account of the call, as opposed to the concise summary given by the UK Foreign Office, the Iranian Foreign Ministry emphasized the importance of adopting a pragmatic approach towards the conflict. They highlighted that the resistance forces were engaged in a struggle against an Israeli government that they believed was perpetrating war crimes amounting to genocide and acting without any sense of proportionality. According to Amir Abdollahian, international law recognizes the legitimate right of people in an occupied country to defend themselves. The Iranian Foreign Ministry reported that the massacre of over 9,000 Palestinian civilians, openly declared as an act of revenge and genocide by the Zionist regime, is not acceptable by any metric, he noted. According to Amir Abdollahian, the U.S. government's significant support to Tel Aviv has contributed to the escalation of the war in the region. In a recent speech, Hassan Nasrallah, the leader of Hezbollah in Lebanon, revealed that the group received a warning through U.S. intermediaries regarding potential consequences if they were to engage in the conflict with Israel. Indications from Nasrallah's speech imply that the immediate threat of a major escalation has diminished, but the potential for a gradual escalation still lingers in this highly unpredictable setting. Expect a rise in attacks on U.S. bases in Iraq, while Hamas aims to divert Israeli forces by opening a second front on the border between South Lebanon and Israel. Hezbollah has already suffered the loss of 50 fighters. According to certain Iranian officials, the significant harm being inflicted upon the international reputation of the U.S. and Israel is deemed sufficient, eliminating the need to currently pursue a shift in the military equilibrium. Cleverly emphasized the importance of putting an end to Iranian-backed threats against individuals in the UK, deeming them completely unacceptable. According to the British intelligence services, there have been numerous credible threats to the lives of people in the UK. Ayatollah Khamenei dismissed the idea that Iran's Basij volunteer paramilitary force was behind the pro-Palestinian demonstrations in London and Paris. Hamas leaders targeted an airstrike. Israel intensifies its offensive, and U.S. Israel military conducted an airstrike on the family home of the exiled leader of Hamas on the outskirts of Gaza City on Saturday. They also continued their attacks across the besieged enclave, exhibiting a rapidly worsening humanitarian crisis. Urgent action is needed to address the critical shortage of food, water, and fuel for generators that power essential facilities. The UN Secretary-General, Antonio Guterres, calls for an immediate ceasefire to facilitate the delivery of much-needed aid. The humanitarian situation in Gaza is absolutely devastating, Guterres stated on Friday in a remarkably candid declaration. Safety shattered, a traumatized population seeks solace. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has been actively engaged in the region since Friday, working towards alleviating the suffering of civilians affected by the conflict. On Saturday, he held meetings with Arab foreign ministers to explore potential solutions. Israel's firm stance on the release of all hostages held by Hamas complicates his mission. Guterres emphasized the importance of safeguarding civilians and civilian infrastructure, while acknowledging the tragic loss of innocent lives during the recent conflict between Hamas militants and Israel. He emphasized the importance of protecting civilians and urged Hamas to release all of the hostages it currently holds. An airstrike targeted the residence of Ismail Haniyeh, the exiled leader of Hamas, located in the Shadi refugee camp on the northern edge of Gaza City. The Hamas-run media office in Gaza reported the incident on Saturday morning. No immediate details on damage or casualties were provided, and there was no immediate comment. The house was reportedly being used by Hania's two sons, according to senior Hamas official Ghazi Hamad. A narrow alley in the refugee camp has transformed into a bustling neighborhood in Gaza City over the years. Hania, a former aide to Hamas founder, Ahmed Yassin, who was killed in an Israeli airstrike in 2004, has been living abroad since 2019. There were also overnight strikes in the western outskirts of the city and near Al-Quds Hospital. Adli Abu Taha, a resident of Gaza City, has sought refuge in the hospital grounds for the past 3 weeks. He expressed concern over the frequent strikes that have been occurring near the hospital in recent days. The bombardment draws nearer with each passing day, he stated during the phone call by airstrikes. People never rest, he declared. The relentless symphony of explosions. Over 1.5 million individuals in Gaza, which accounts for 70% of the population, have been displaced from their homes, as reported by the UN. A devastating airstrike in the heart of Khan Yunis left a family's home destroyed, claiming the lives of 3 individuals and leaving 6 others injured. First responders bravely worked to rescue those trapped under the rubble. Tragically, a child was among the victims, as reported by an Associated Press cameraman present at the scene. Ground forces are now operating in the south, with an armored and engineering corps diligently working to clear buildings of booby traps. Israel troops successfully neutralized enemy fighters as they emerged from a tunnel during the operation. According to the military, there were multiple attacks launched from tunnels on Israeli forces in the northern Gaza Strip. In another location, clashes persisted along Israel's northern border on Saturday morning. The Israeli military reported targeting militant cells in Lebanon that were attempting to attack Israel, along with a Hezbollah observation post. Amidst the ongoing conflict, Israel and Hezbollah have engaged in frequent exchanges of fire along the Lebanese border, sparking concerns of a potential escalation. In his latest public address, Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah hinted at the possibility of escalation, but stopped short of indicating full engagement in the ongoing conflict. Up until now, Hezbollah has been strategically demonstrating support for Hamas without risking a full-blown conflict that would have severe consequences for Lebanon and Israel. During his third visit to Israel since the war started, Blinken emphasized President Joe Biden's urgent plea for a temporary ceasefire to tackle the escalating humanitarian crisis. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu insists on a humanitarian pause only after Hamas releases all the hostages it holds. On Saturday, he convened meetings in Amman with diplomats from Jordan, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, and the Palestinian Authority, who harbor strong resentment and profound distrust towards Israel. With aid distribution, the safe release of hostages, and the freedom for foreigners to leave, Blinken aims to encourage Jordan and other Arab states to envision the future of Gaza after Israel's successful control over Hamas. Arab leaders have shown reluctance to embrace American proposals for a greater involvement in the crisis. They have expressed